All right, bro, you ready for this?
I'm ready. Because Holiday Road.
Yeah, don't do that, though.
I want to do what I want.
Yeah, but don't do that.
Damn it.
Okay, good. What's up, people of the internet? My name is Honro, and I'm seated here once again with my good friend, Travis Thug Life Williams.
What's up?
And we are talking the 2015 release of Vacation, starring Ed Helms, Christina Applegate, and
the children.
And some other people.
Kids.
And overall, we're talking why we think this movie didn't suck.
Which is
surprising.
Very different from a lot of other reviews out there.
Surprisingly, neither of us thought the movie sucked. So
very funny.
We'll start with the bad,
and that's mostly you because I couldn't really find anything I had problems with.
My biggest issue with this film, it kind of saddens me to say it, but it's Ed Helms. I don't think, don't get me wrong, Ed Helms is a talented guy. He's a talented musician. He can sing, he can act, he can do all sorts of stuff really great. But I think he's kind of cornered himself into this awkward man comedy role, which he does well when he's not the main character.
Well, I have a hard time with him where I don't feel like he should be the main character.
When he's trying to be I feel like he tries too hard.
Yeah.
And the movies where in this, I felt like just in this film he tried too hard to be overtly funny, and it just tended to miss more often than it hit for me. The scene of his that was hilarious though is the scene where his kid is out in the jacuzzi playing his guitar, and he's talking to the girl, and he's doing pretty well talking to the girl, and then Rusty, Ed Helms, shows up in his bathrobe and just starts creeping on him, and the girl's like, do you want me to call 9? Should I call 911 right now?
He's complimenting his son.
Yeah, he's like,
and it's
he's like, ooh, kid, you look like you
work out a lot.
You look like you got a good physique. How would you pop that shirt off? He's saying the creepiest stuff, and the girl's like, I'm gonna go now, and he doesn't realize that he's ruining his shot, his son's shot with this girl. He's just so overtly positive about it. He thinks he's doing the right thing.
He's the best wingman ever, but he's the biggest cock block ever.
Yeah, he thinks he's doing the right thing, but it's so obvious he's not. And I think that scene really worked to his character and to Ed Helms' just comedy style.
Like I said.
And then he tells his son he's there for him. And, if you ever want to talk about sex, I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Hey, Dad, what's a rim job?
And the first question his son asks him, he knows nothing about and can't answer it at all. And so that scene as a whole worked really well for Ed Helms as an actor and the character of Rusty as a character. I thought that was a really good scene.
Right.
And that was really my only problem with this movie. I could nitpick this movie for all sorts of tiny small stuff. But you're going into this movie, it's a vacation film, and all the vacation films are way over the top in their humor and the situations that the characters are in. So to nitpick at this comedy doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah,
so we're basically just gonna jump right to the things we liked about this movie and why we don't think it sucked overall.
Yeah, going just back to your point about the vacation movies, if you have not seen them, they're all very over the top.
Yeah,
that's what's funny about them.
Stuff happens that that wouldn't happen to any family in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of this, it's just exaggerated stories, basically. The worst possible thing that could happen at a family reunion,
and it happens in this family over and over.
It hits all the beats.
It's the generations.
Anything that can go wrong does go wrong in these movies. Is essentially the idea.
Right.
So we're gonna jump right into the stuff we liked about the movie. I'll start. And speaking about Ed Helms, I do think his character of Rusty as the son of Clark
Griswold.
Yeah, growing up in that household and through the course of the films that you see him in, it's pretty apparent where he gets his parenting style and why he's kind of just this clueless dad. And he has you know, he has good moments where
his intentions are good, but his
he has
execution
he has
awful.
the best intentions, which is the same in Chevy Chase's character of Clark Griswold. He loves his family and he wants to do nice things for his family, and shit just goes wrong every step of the way. So his character and like how he like doesn't catch on when like his son is swearing in front of him, and his wife is like
language,
Rusty, do something, and he's like. And he goes off. I can't even remember what he says, but he just goes off on this tangent that has nothing to do with his son actually swearing.
So what it was that his son wrote on his brother's guitar that his brother has a vagina.
Yeah.
And Rusty, the kids go upstairs. The kid comes back downstairs, and Rusty starts
talking about how
like hermaphrodites.
Even if his son had a vagina, that wouldn't be the right way to go.
And some people do have both genitalia. He's like going off on this whole tangent. Which his father did in the other movies.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff was funny. And then you want to talk about
so like in the trailer, you probably seen it in the trailer. There's this meta speech that Rusty's giving to the family about going on vacation. And they're like, you want to redo your own vacation? He's like, yeah. And the kids are like, I've never heard of vacation. He's like, this vacation will stand on its own.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. It's kind of the same thing they did in like 22 Jump Street, where they're being meta about their own movie, and he's like,
we're a sequel.
And he's like, well, this vacation movie will stand on its own. People will and will have fun with it. So it was kind of like a funny just commentary on the film in general.
Right.
And then you get into the actual vacation part where he rents this car for his family, and the car is just the weirdest
car ever,
like most awkward vehicle you could possibly imagine.
The Honda of Albania.
Yeah, and it's called like the Tartan Prancer, and it's got four mirrors. It's got two mirrors and on either end of it, and they're facing each other. So the car literally looks like it has two front ends. But the steering wheel's only on one side. The thing has two gas tanks. It's got an electrical plug next to the gas tank that's got all sorts of
right.
The car. It's got a key fob with like 30 different buttons on it. One of which is a
swastika.
Is
it bad that I still want to know what that does? Like, it makes me a fucked up person, but I want to see it.
That's one of the jokes in the movie is they never press the swastika button, so you don't know what it. That's the only button that they don't press.
And every other button besides the swastika button is
do nothing,
more and more awful than the first.
They do nothing helpful. Like the first button they press pops the bumper off, and then there's a button that turns that turns his seat around.
That wasn't on the key fob. That was in the car.
Was it? No, okay.
There's this like really funny scene where they're trying to use the navigation system, and they keep changing language, and it becomes an angry Japanese guy, Korean, something like that. Why is he so angry? Like, that's really funny.
Michigan State University.
Very angry, and it's really funny.
It was basically like the angry Japanese voice that the South Park guys do was basically the voice of the GPS.
I'm sorry, Kyle.
No, cuttlefish. I'm sorry, Kyle. like that was the voice that they did. Okay, so they've got the insane car,
the Tartan Prancer. Forgot to say the name. That's pretty funny name.
And Rusty's job goes along with his character, which works really well. Where he's a decent pilot, but he works for just this garbage airline.
So like Southwest?
No, I was thinking more like JetBlue or something something that nobody flies. Like I don't.
Okay, sorry. Allegiant Air.
I don't know. I don't. I've flown like 3 times in my life, so I just really know the big guys. But yeah, he works on this terrible airline, and then you find out later in the movie that
there's a reason why he works for the airline.
He works for the airline because he doesn't want to be away from his family. Because he's gotten offers from the bigger airlines to do like international flights and stuff, and he turns them down because he's happy where he is. And I think that speaks like it's another nice character trait that he has.
Right. Well, then there's his Rusty's kids. I can't remember their names.
But that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but
he's got 2 sons. This vacation has 2 boys instead of a boy and a girl. That's part of his meta speech.
That's meta speech. But then the funny part is that
it's totally different.
The little brother dominates the big brother. The big brother's a pussy. Like he has he has 5 different fucking journals
that he takes with him in the car, and the little brother is like the little brother's like putting plastic bags over his head. He's
Oh
like,
my God, that's
he's like beating him in wrestling and stuff. The little brother is the bully to the older brother who's like twice his size.
So back to the paper bag thing, the plastic bag thing. It's like he's having this love moment with the girl in the car next door and like waving. It's in
the trailer.
It's in the trailer.
Everyone's
but also he pulls the bag over his head, just like starts grabbing, and they go back to the girl's face, and you don't see that in the trailer. It's like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? Like, it's so good.
It's a good dynamic, and then later in the film, where he finally has the. I think the older brother, honestly, out of all the characters in the film, has the most steady arc. Like his character goes through the most change because he starts the movie out as a pussy who won't stand up for himself and lets his little brother walk all over him. And then by the end of the film, he's figured out. He's like, well, I'm bigger than him. I'm bigger. Like I'm strong. I can physically overpower him. There's no reason I should let this kid push me around.
And it takes the girl.
And it takes the girl. So it's the movie is kind of, as far as a vehicle for his character, it's kind of like a coming of age for him because he realizes, well, I need to grow. I need to kind of grow up and,
be a man.
And kind of like defend myself here a little bit because I'm getting embarrassed by my younger brother who's half my size. So it's kind of a nice story arc for him.
Okay, then we have like Debbie Do Anything.
Oh God, where
Christina Applegate's character has like a dark history from
where Rusty's wife. They find out they go to her. That's like one of the first stops on their trip. They go to the college that she graduated from.
Went to her sorority house.
And they go to her sorority house and they find out that she was like this giant whore that would literally, her nickname was Debbie Do Anything. So
they showed pictures of her.
Literally anything you could imagine was stuff that she did in college. And it's just kind of a funny. It's because you don't expect it, especially because Christina Applegate, she looks like such an innocent like kind of woman.
Yeah, especially in this movie.
Yeah, you don't expect anything out of that, but then they take it several steps beyond.
Oh God.
Beyond where you'd expect it to go.
Like when they talk about, oh my God, and that starts.
We don't need to go.
Yeah, but this starts this catalyst with her and her husband.
Where
he doesn't realize
it kind of like pits a void in their relationship, and that goes into our other part where we really like the chemistry between Christina Applegate and Ed Helms. Like they worked as like you believe that they could be married and have these kids together.
Well, it was funny. They had this scene where they're about to have sex and like surprise sex in the shower in this really really god awful hotel, and they open up the curtain. There's like blood splattered on the wall.
Yeah, they're like really she's all excited that he wants to get in the shower with her, and they go in there and they pull the curtain back, God. And it looks like a murder scene.
So funny.
And they're like, yeah.
Oh, then they find the Brillo pad.
Yeah,
Brillo pad,
which is the big ball of pubic hair, which is
like why?
Just gross and weird. And then one of the other things that I thought was like a funny comedy beat that they kind of hit throughout the film was the trucker, the first introduction of the trucker is that their crappy weird car for whatever reason has a CB radio in it. So Ed Helms asks the trucker if there's like cops, if there's any like
Smokies.
If there's any cops anywhere on the he phrases it in like trucker terms or whatever.
Smokies.
And the trucker's all nice and responds like, "No, you're clear for the next 25 miles, good buddy," or whatever. And the conversation goes well, and then he gives his bratty younger son the CB radio, and the younger son just starts talking about it. He's like, my friends tell me that all truckers are rapists. Is that true? How often do you rape little kids? And it just snowballs from there. And so then for the rest of the movie, this trucker is stalking them, and he just keeps showing up. Like it's almost every time they get back on the road, the trucker shows up.
It causes them to flip the car. Yeah, because it does this really good scene with the car where they're trying to press buttons on inside the car.
Yeah, he's trying to. He turns them around. Trying to evade. It's
like my favorite line. One of my favorite lines in the movie. He's like, "Don't worry, I can do this. I'll turn my car really hard to the left. I'll pull the handbrake, and I'll Tokyo drift like Vin Diesel does." And his wife's like, "What makes you think you're as good as Vin Diesel?"
Yeah, which is in the trailer, so it kind of deflates that scene a little bit. But overall, the truck driver, the whole thing, because he literally follows him through almost the entire film. And then you get into all the cameos, and I think I want to start with the truck driver just because
The truck driver scenes happen a lot more. Than it finally gets to the point where he shows up with
Well, first of all, he thinks the final scene with the truck. Well, one of the final scene where they think they're in danger from the truck driver is their car is blown up at this point because they press the wrong button on the
goddamn muffin.
They press the wrong button on the remote and blow up the car. Oh. So now the car is finished. And Ed Helms is just kind of walking into the desert, and then the truck follows him into the desert, stops in front of him, and he's running for his life because he doesn't realize it. And Norman Reedus steps out as the truck driver.
That's so funny.
And he's like, "Hey man, your wife, she loses her wedding ring at some portion of the movie, and it's like pretty early on. Your wife left this wedding ring at a truck stop in Missouri. I've been following you to." It's been, you're on my way, so I followed you, and here's your ring back. And that's the whole reason. Like you think he's pissed off and after him over like the rapist comments, and then he ends up giving him a ride. And they get in and before they get in the car, they're asking him, what are they? Oh, no. His
are you a rapist? Are you a rapist?
His younger son just asked him, and the guy doesn't answer.
Like 5 seconds.
Yeah. He doesn't say anything. And he's like. What does he say though?
He doesn't say anything.
No, he says something, but not as a response.
I can't remember.
He says something that's not a response to the question at all, and it's hilarious.
Well, then it gets even worse when they drop him off. the entire time he has this teddy bear strapped to the front of the car.
He gives him a ride to San Francisco, to Rusty's parents' house. Spoiler, but that's where they go. And when they get out of the truck,
what does he say?
They ask him why he has the teddy bear on the front of the car, and he's like, "Oh, it helps ease the, it helps relax the kiddies or something like that." And
like you have kids?
And he's like, "Oh, you've got kids?" And he's like,
"Nope."
No. And then he just drives.
I'm like they're like.
So Norman Reedus, like, the cameos in this movie were hilarious. So from that, I guess we can go. Should we go back to Chris? Because the trucker's actually technically after like
right, but.
After
you guys seen
we're not going in order here.
Yeah, there's no way. You guys seen in the trailers that Chris Hemsworth is in the movie.
We'll talk about Chris Hemsworth.
He plays Stone,
which is
Rusty's sister Audrey, played by I think Leslie Mann is her name, and this guy is like freaking nuts. He's like a Texas. He's
just a good old Texan boy.
Texas. He's a weatherman,
and he's a weather news anchor for like the local news, and for some reason. He's obsessed with doing like faucet similes and metaphors, like everything. He's like, man, you'd buy water from a faucet. And then he's like, oh, you boys are going faster than weeds under a faucet. And he says like 4 faucet jokes in one scene. And it's just like, what is happening?
But it gets even worse than that.
Why does he keep saying faucet stuff?
Just not the faucet stuff. The whole scene in the bedroom.
Oh, the scene in the bedroom. Oh my god! When they're Rusty and his wife are like getting ready for bed, and they're kind of getting a little frisky, and then they they stop, and Stone comes in, and he's only wearing like boxer briefs, and he's got just
the biggest dick,
biggest fake dong on. It's so damn funny.
I thought it was the hammer.
And he keeps posing and he keeps like propping his leg up on shit.
There's one point where he's just standing there. He's like
just standing in front of him,
like just doing that. That's what he does.
And it was so funny. His delivery for everything is hilarious.
I would like to see Chris Hemsworth do more comedies like that. Like
his comedy timing.
I love him as Thor.
His comedy timing was hilarious.
It was pretty good.
Movie. It was so funny. And then you got
Charlie Day.
Charlie Day as the like Colorado River Whitewater Rapids guide. Oh my god, it was so hysterical. And as soon as they show up, he's like, "Oh, are you the Fong family?" And he's like, "Oh, gotcha, just kidding." And then everything he says for like the next 3-minute scene is a joke followed by, "Oh, gotcha, just kidding. Look at his face. Oh my god!" And his like high Charlie Day voice. And then he gets a call from his fiance, he's like, "Oh, better take this, or I'll be in hotter water than this river."
But literally, it's cold.
Just kidding. The water's cold. Oh, look at his face. He takes the phone and turns around, and his fiance breaks up with him, and he's like,
"Why are you doing this to me?"
He's screaming and crying, and she hangs up on him, and he throws the phone in the river, and then turns around and is just like, "All right, who's ready to go?" And you're just like, "Oh my god!" And then as soon as they get on the water, that song, I can't live. Living is without you.
But there's a fork in the river where it's like calm rapids and like super bad rapids.
And Charlie Day just like that song
just
is
like
playing, and he just digs the oar in and goes straight for the heavy rapids. And then he's just trying to kill. He's like trying to drown himself face down in the river, and Rusty's pulling him up. And then he just lets it. And then the whole family. And then he tosses his oars like I give up. And then the whole family bails out because they're heading towards a waterfall cliff, of course.
Oh, my God.
And they all latch onto, like, some big log floating in the water. And Charlie Day just goes over the cliff edge and just pummels off rocks. And it's like...
It looked like Homer Simpson falling down the cliff, man.
It was so funny because you knew as soon as the song started that he was basically going to... I was like, oh, he's going to try to kill himself in the water. He's going to take them down with it. It was so funny. Even though you could see it coming a mile away, it was freaking hilarious.
Then we go to the next cameo, like I said, the cameos that we liked. Clark and Ellen Griswold, played by Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo.
Hilarious.
It was so cool to see them again.
They're running a bed and breakfast in San Francisco.
The worst bed and breakfast,
when Norman Reedus says the trucker drops the family, because that's where he drops them off. He drops them off at Grandma and Grandpa Griswold's house. They get out of the car, and there's a couple leaving the house like, don't stay here. These people are fucking nuts. and it's Rusty's parents, and it's awesome.
I love Chevy Chase when he shows up. Like, that was so cool.
Everything that Chevy Chase was doing on screen was funny. He was just like right back to his awkward self. It was so good. Like, just hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And then
I love the scene where he's cleaning the room while this guy's taking a shit.
There's a guy. How about this? How about when they're at the dinner table and it's presumably other people that are staying at their bed and breakfast. They come in, they're like, "Hey, can we join you guys? We're occupied." And he just doesn't get the fuck.
And like they had plates in their hands, like ready to eat.
Yeah.
Well, but then
he's sitting down with his family. And get out of here.
Well, but then they like Rusty and him are having a heart to heart in the while he's cleaning the bedroom.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he's talking to Rusty.
He sprays Febreze
like, that's
for
all
like
he does.
30 seconds, and then he opens the bathroom door, is shooting Lysol into like the dude's...
And the guy's pooping. It's so funny.
Like into the dude's face, he's just spraying Lysol into his face. All right, but we want to talk about...
Oh, this is the best scene in the entire movie.
The funniest scene in the movie, which had little to do with the plot
at all,
and very little to do with the main characters, but it includes 4 cameos from 4 very funny people.
Well, I think we should set up what was going on in the scene.
So, they're staying in. I don't remember. I think they're in
Bisbee, Arizona.
Yeah, they're in a hotel in Bisbee, Arizona, and Rusty gets the idea that he wants to take it because he's trying to like
spice up
his marriage. So he's trying to get his wife excited. And he's like, okay, well, let's go to the 4 corners and bang. And she's on board, so they go. And
oh my god,
they go, and they're on the 4 corners, and they sneak in, they get in there, and they're getting ready to go, and then someone like knees them or something like that. And there's another couple that's already banging on the 4 corners.
Because of a white line.
And then there's like flashlights that turn on, and there's like 20 like disgusting, ugly couples like all waiting to bang at the 4 corners, and they're like, oh, and then the Popo shows up, and this is where the hilarious cameos come in. So the first cop that shows up is Tim Heidecker from the Awesome Show.
Tim and Eric's Awesome Show.
From Tim and Eric. So it's Tim Heidecker from Tim and Eric. He shows up as the
Utah
PD, and he starts grilling him, and he's like, "Oh, you pervs at the 4 corners,"
and then you do whatever you want.
Yeah, because everybody else runs when he shows up, except for Rusty and his wife, so they're just standing there like deer in headlights. So they get busted. He's grilling them, and then all of a sudden you hear, "Get out of here! This is my turf!" And it's Nick Kroll from
the League and the Kroll Show,
everything else Nick Kroll's been in, and he's the Colorado state trooper, and so he starts getting into it with Tim Heidecker and he starts like dropping like Mormon jokes and stuff. He's like, and then after that, then Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny shows up, and she's Arizona state trooper, and then they get into it, and they're all going back and forth. And then finally Michael Pena shows up, and you all know how we feel about Michael Pena. and he's
New Mexico.
And he's New Mexico
coming in with all his turquoise.
Yeah.
Oh
and,
my god.
Caitlin Olsen's like, wow, could you wear more turquoise? And,
well, my favorite line of this entire scene is that they're talking. All of a sudden, I think Caitlin Olsen says it. He tells the Utah State Police guy, "Why don't you just go back home and fuck your wives?"
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
They keep dropping so many Mormon jokes, and then they get into it.
Oh my god.
Nick Kroll and Michael.
They've all pulled their guns.
Well,
on each
yeah,
other.
they all pull their guns.
That was funny.
They all like start arguing so much that that Rusty and his wife just kind of end up walking away. And they've all got their guns drawn on each other. Nick Kroll and Michael Pena end up putting their guns in each other's like mouths.
Well, by the end of it, they're all on the ground with their hands up.
Get down! You drop your weapon! Drop your weapon! And they're all screaming at each other, and the scene is so ridiculous.
And then I think they make a joke in there where they say this happens a lot when they meet up like this. Like, this is freaking ridiculous.
Get your foot out of my state! Back up! Don't come into my state! I swear I'll shoot you!
Jesus.
Cross that line, I dare you! And it's just hilarious to see the four of them, because they're all such... They all come from such like different comedy backgrounds. Like they all have backgrounds in comedy, but they're all so different. Mm-hmm. And then for them to all be in one scene together and get to joke back and forth, it was hilarious.
That was probably my favorite thing about
it was my favorite scene in the film, just to see those four comedians kind of just go at each other. It was hilarious.
Yeah, pretty good.
And really, that's all I've got to say about Vacation.
I would see it. It
has a good message about families sticking together and growing closer. About a husband and wife kind of growing closer together. Even the sons, the older son kind of takes charge, and then they end up being closer because the sons just kind of hated each other throughout the beginning of the movie, and then towards like the whole family just kind of grows closer. So it's kind of it has that nice like touch to it.
Yeah,
but it's also, and it has comedy moments throughout that are hilarious. Well, I was laughing throughout the whole thing. Like,
pretty much.
There was very few scenes that were supposed to be funny that I didn't laugh at, and that's what I expected going into a comedy, especially a comedy based on the older Vacation movies that are over the top, and that's just how they are, and it delivered. So honestly, like, I didn't love the movie. I wasn't crazy for it.
I'd watch it again.
But I'd give it another thumb to the side, thumb up. Like,
word.
Yeah.
There
totally. So we're in agreement on this one finally.
What, took Vacation for us to come into agreement about something?
Vacation brings everybody closer together. And that's the end. Thanks for watching, guys. Check us out on Twitter if you haven't checked us out already.
Word.
And we will catch you next time. Take it easy.
Peace.